Well, hello there. This is Shane from Shane's Reviews, and I hope you are having a great day today. What are we going to be talking about? Bobiverse. Lynette asked me specifically if I was going to cover this, and it got away from me. I missed the release, but we're going to talk about it today. This is book 4, by the way, and the name is Heaven's River. It was narrated by Ray Porter. Quick word about the narration. Good. A quick word about the way that this book translates to audio. You may find yourself going back at the beginning of the chapter just to figure out which Bob it was. Sometimes that happens with audio, mainly because the story flips back and forth a little bit while things are unraveling. There's not a whole lot of differentiation of voice for the characters because they're all the same character, really, in the way this is set up. So that might sound a little ambiguous. Let me explain. Essentially, the way the Bobiverse works is long time ago, and I'm playing. I'm just kidding. But essentially, there was a guy that was a programmer. He was kind of a loner, and he ends up buying this thing for himself so that if something happens, then he can be brought into blah, 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 blah. Well, horrible accident happens, and Bob is created as a virtual entity. Okay, so anyway, the long of it all is he becomes a AI, and he is originally tasked to just learn how to control these different units and such. And that was a very interesting idea. It was a very interesting book. So if you haven't read the first Bobiverse book, I would suggest you do it. Zach, please, if you would, splash it on screen here. But as we have progressed, multiple things have happened. We've seen Bob rescue humanity. We've seen his multiple reproductions, I guess you would say. So essentially, his prime moving factor in the original book was make more of yourself and spread out. Get things ready for us because we're coming, and then catastrophe struck. And so then it became, I need to save humanity. Well, in the next few books, we meet people from Path, and they weren't really people, they were creatures, but Bob becomes more like their deity and entity that helps guide them. Because they were about to be knocked out of existence as well. The long of it is we've seen this character and his story arc change over the course of time quite a bit. In the last book, it was kind of a wrap-up in a way, but there was a lot that was just left open, and I was kind of curious about the stagnation of the characters, the AIs, because it would be a pretty bad existence for a lot of people. I mean, imagine not having a body. Imagine just being a ship or a brain in a ship that can be moved from here to here to here. That doesn't sound very appealing. Sure, the idea of immortality reigns through to most everyone, but the idea of immortality, if you're a disembodied mind that really doesn't have physical interactions, that could do a number on a person's psyche, I do believe. And we do see that in the first couple books. I mean, for real, we really do see that. Until Bob starts to invent things for himself, just to kind of fold the brain pan so that it thinks that it has more going on for it than just floating in space and tracking out things. So anyway, along of it all is, in this book, oh boy, he meets a new race of people. And the reason why is because the entirety of the Bobiverse, all the Bobs, regardless of their names, they've started to get very cliquey. So there's this group that likes this part of technology. There's this group that wants to do this. They have found that as they are copying themselves, there's this rift that's happening that's causing new traits in them. Which, I mean, diversity is a good thing. I'm not going to make any kind of counter statement to that, because without it, it's like niche over specialization results in the death of all, right? At least that's a paraphrase of it. Anyway, the story, he has to deal with the thing that he's first was, and then the thing that he was with multitudes of himself around him, all being very much not single-minded, very much libertarian, very much, let's do the best that we can for everything and everyone around us. He starts to see that shift. It's not so unilateral now. And granted, I mean, he's not a specific scientific genius of, I know how to do all of this. I understand the physics of our universe. I understand mathematics in a very, very strong degree. I understand chemical bonds and reactions. This is not who Bob is. Bob is a programmer. He's the type that would make things like Snake or, YouTube reference, Code Bullet. Like that guy. That's what I imagine Bob as. But anyway, he has to deal with this. I don't have a feeling that it's going to go well. Now, I have gotten all the way through the book, but I'm thinking that in subsequent books, there's two dividing factions at this point. And I like that Dennis Taylor decided to use Star Trek as as the divergent populace of the Bobs start to dress like they're in an episode of The Next Generation. And that's probably going to be something that comes to a big head, to be completely frank about it. But beyond the internal politics of the Bobs not agreeing to disagree or agreeing to disagree at all, they find themselves in an interesting place because of this divergency. Bob, Bill, not original Bob, but Bill, Bob, Bobby, Bob, Bobber. It gets confusing. But the main Bob of this story goes tracking after Bender, which has kind of disappeared. And this is how he gets introduced to a new species, because he's tracing, he finds out something that happened, finds a huge project, something like a Dyson sphere, but not really. It doesn't encompass the entirety of the sun. It's more of a helix ring system that wraps around into infinity just by going around the sun in the way that it does. It's just one single thing. And because of its diameter, it's considered straight because it's so large. And yes, that can happen. Jokes aside, I won't do it. I won't do it. Nope. Oh, the struggle's real. No, it wouldn't be nice. I'm struggling. So he goes to this place. They have to infiltrate it, and all the little cliques that I was mentioning before, some of them are really into like gaming, and some of them are really into technology and getting this to happen or this to happen. And so they all kind of come together to work as one until these people, the Star Trek, the TNGs of the Bobiverse, decide that they're going to really hijack the system. You see, Bob has this very intricate communication system set up that spans everywhere. So Alpha Centauri, everywhere. And so he's able to send faster than light type communications to himself and to the other copies, etc. And whenever they do this, they break that communication chain. So there was these individuals that were humans that were helping him. It ends up that they just kind of disappear from the story. And the reason why is, of course, that the communications grids have been broke. On top of it all, this is the last little bit about the TNG parts of it anyway, is they want that prime directive of you leave life alone, you don't interact with it, but not if it comes to a particular point, then you can interact with it. They just want to be completely separate from bio creatures altogether, which, I mean, I could kind of see if I was in that situation. I know this is going to sound like a weird statement. Just follow me. Imagine that you were AI, you were a ship. You wanted to focus on learning and spreading. One thing that would hold you back would be what? Interference with or interacting with creatures that have their own agenda separate from your own, and their lifespans are so much shorter than your own. Typically, because of that, they're a lot more political. They're a lot more fighting. They're a lot more this, that, and the other. So it would behoove those sorts of creatures, being the ones that don't want that messiness in their lives, to just leave it all alone. So there's better ways to do it. They could have just gone off on their own and left everything else. I mean, they had their ideology. They had what they wanted to do. The way that the Bobiverse is set up, I don't think that it would have been a problem. They could have been distant cousins that just went off in this little area and every once in a while popped in to see what all had changed or received the blogs or whatever. So, and yes, they do reference blogs in this book, so I'm not just throwing that out there. The thing though, as Bob is trying to figure out what's happening on this, to figure out where Bender's at, there's a whole nother story that happens, and I'm not going to tell you a whole lot about that part of it because that's shooting your shot. That Dennis E. Taylor, he definitely shot his shot. So he wrote a story that is pretty big and encompassing, and then we have the sub-story that's actually kind of the main story for this book, but he did a great job of bridging the universe that he's been creating and then also telling a new story as well, then kind of getting it where there's a bridge for both of those and for the next book to occur. So kudos on that to you, sir. Very well done. It's up to Zach if the clap award pops up or not. If it does, then beautiful. Very good. Now, that part of the story, it kind of drags on at first, but there is a payoff. I promise there's a payoff. So let's talk about what did this book bring out in me It's been a while since I've read something, actually many weeks since I've read something that really sparked an interest in me, because I've really been on a kick of getting through the rest of these little Repairman Jack stories, and I don't know if I'm going to make any more videos on those unless you guys and gals request them. And the reason why is because there's so many, but we're to that point where we're almost done with them too. So maybe not. We'll see. Just leave me a comment in the section down below. Nah, I don't mind. I won't watch it. Or hey, yeah, let's see it. I'd be interested in that. As far as the video that shall not be named, people are still telling me to turn the comments back on it, and I'm like, no, you guys had your choice. You had your chance to have a open discussion, and we all chose to be trolls. So no, it won't ever be on that video, but I do have comments on everything else. So there you go. Anyway, beyond all that, what's some of the things coming up? I'm going to continue with Dune. I'm going to throw one of those in here sometime soon. But on the same token, I know that I've been teasing that we've been talking about doing other things, and yes, I do have my phone in my hand. It's not because I'm looking at test messages, it's that I was looking to see what all was left in my library. I think that God Emperor Dune was next, but there's also a reason why I kind of paused on books, and there will be a review on this soon for sure. The F. Paul Wilson books and Audible. Zach, from where I said there was a reason why I've paused on books out, because I'm just going to make a joke video on that here very, very soon. I know that we've been teasing, some things that we've been kicking around, some ideas and stuff, and the video production side of my company, it's there just to have fun with, right? And recently we got to do something that was really cool. It had to do with a local theater. We did their first virtual presence whenever it comes to having their troupe perform and then sell virtual tickets and etc. So we put everything in place for them and recorded it and had it online. It was much of a success, actually, which was really, really cool. I'm glad it worked out for them. That also gave us an ability to see how you can be creative, stay within particular bounds, but also some of the things that we would certainly do differently if we were trying to do live productions all the time. But there was a few things that were a little time crunch sensitive, considering that usually I want to give myself a full week at least to do stuff to things for editing, but that didn't work out. But what we did do is, it wasn't a complaint. I don't want you to think it was. What we did do was we just kind of rode with the punches, which is something that sometimes I do struggle with whenever I want to produce something that is of quality. Yes. It gave it a different kind of a feel, though. Instead of it being this cinematic, etc., it turned out more of a home type of a video that was really well done, but on the same token, it had a lot more character. It had a lot more reasons to rewatch it than if we had got it the way that we wanted to do it. And so for that reason alone, I really liked the experience. Now, during the time period of which it was happening, I might have been a bit of a grumpy bear. I might have been a little bit out there, but everybody dealt with it. And that's okay, especially Zach. Now, Zach, be honest. I know you could tell I was stressed. It was evident, but I mean, what do you think?
Good times, honestly.
It's okay, I'll wait here. No, really, you can start anytime you like. No, we really want to hear what you got to say. No, please, really do. So that's what Zach had to say about it. Speaking of which, it's that time for me to get down the road. Thank you so much for watching all the way through to the end. If you did, you are certainly the tripod that holds my camera up. I think that sounded better in my head. You are a superstar that's No, that's not right either. You're the screw that holds the wood together? Maybe. How about this? You're awesome. We love you. Thank you for watching. I'm not sure which one of the videos you'll pick over here. If you do happen to pick one of these over here, I'll see you in the next video. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe if you think we did something good today. Be safe. Wash your hands.